Oftentimes, when they talk about the essentials or the things that one must have in life, they say it's food, shelter, and clothing. And of course, since shelter is included, that must be one of the important things as it relates to what a person needs in order to live a good life, in order to live any kind of life, because shelter is important. And I'm so happy today to be able to talk some about shelter and an organization that deals with shelter for people through all walks of life. And we have with us today Mr. Mike Austin, who's the executive director.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Of the Macon Housing Authority. We're going to talk about a lot of things as it relates to housing. And I quickly am going to say that the Macon Housing Authority, where I grew up, came under the auspices, if you please, of the Macon Housing Authority, which was Tyndall Heights.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Back in the dark ages when I was a child, I grew up in that public housing project and really am proud of it.
Absolutely.
Because it kind of molded me and I learned a lot of things and it provided sufficient shelter for me and my family.
Right.
This is a call to action.
Call to action. A call to action.
And I'm your host, Alex Abraham, and as I said, we got with us Mr. Austin, who's the executive director. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Alex. Thanks for having me. We have a lot of exciting things to talk about, and I think it's terrific that you lived in Tyndall Heights.
Yes, sir.
That's a wonderful part of the neighborhood. Right. It's a wonderful part of our community. And as everybody knows, it's changing.
Right.
All things change, and it's funny, things evolve over time, and time passes so quickly. But now we're seeing the whole acreage of Tyndall Heights change. It's about 19-20 acres. And for the past several years, we've been figuring out, how do we deal with Tyndall, because it's a wonderful place, but it's so old now.
Right.
You
calling me old?
No, not you. Not you. The buildings were so old. You're not.
I know it.
You're younger every time I see you. And, old buildings, the older they get, the more expensive they are to maintain.
I know.
And darn it, if HUD stopped sending us all the money they should be sending us. Here about 10 years ago with congressional budget caps and funding. And so we started thinking, how do we keep this property up to par? How do we do that? Because our mission is to provide good housing for people, for families, for seniors, so that, as you said a minute ago, shelter is a key part of our life. And if we don't have that basic element, it's hard to do anything else. It really is. It's hard to work at a job. It's hard to send your kids to school. But when you don't have to worry about shelter, you can think about a lot of other things.
That's correct.
And so we sat down and started thinking, gosh, we need to do something. So through a long process, we were able to get permission from HUD to take down Tyndall. But part of that was, look, if you're going to take down Tyndall, then you've got to relocate people. You can't just tear something down and then families have to go find housing on their own. And that's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable to us. It's not acceptable to HUD. And so in that particular case, some people moved to other public housing sites that we have. And then other people took Section 8 vouchers and went out into the community. And the wonderful thing about a Section 8 voucher, as you probably know, once I have that, I can go nationwide.
Yeah.
It's portable.
Live anywhere.
Yeah, you can live anywhere. We had a couple people move out of Bibb, but a lot of people stayed. Probably 95% of the families and seniors who lived at Tyndall stayed in the immediate area.
Right.
So we applied for a tax credit, and we're going to split it up into 4 phases. And we got awarded the first phase, which is Tyndall Seniors Towers.
Right.
And as you drive by Mercer up Little Richard, you'll see that building is almost done. Hopefully within the next month we'll get COs.
How many units going to be?
76 units,
okay.
Senior housing, 62 plus. So you couldn't live there, you're too young.
Yeah, I know.
But maybe soon.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what we told the residents of Tyndall is, look, if you're still interested when these units come back online and you still qualify, we'll give you first priority. And so here about a month or two ago, we sent out a letter to all the people who were 62 at the time who lived in Tyndall, and the letter basically said, look, it's coming up out of the ground. If you feel like you want to come back, get in contact with us, and we'll give you first priority on the waiting list. And so we've had several do that, and they're excited to come back and live there.
Okay.
And that's going to be fun. And then the rest of the site, we're splitting that up into 3 phases, and that will be what we call multifamily. And so they won't be seniors can live there, of course, but people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, can live there at an affordable rate, just like public housing.
Now, is there an income requirement for that multifamily?
Yeah, just like public housing. Yep,
Okay,
yep.
okay,
So it's
okay.
affordable.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing about that is we're going to have brand new units that are a lot easier to maintain for the housing authority and a lot nicer to live in. And we're just excited about that project.
So some of the people who, in fact, lived in Tyndall,
Yep.
if they wanted to,
Yes.
they could come back and live in the multifamily site.
Absolutely, because it's essentially the same requirements that you would have to pass to get into public housing.
Well,
So-
that's outstanding because
Yeah.
I've seen, the senior towers go up.
Yeah.
And you're just about completed with that?
Just about done. We're about a month or less away.
Oh, wow.
I was in there a couple of days ago with WMAZ. They called and they said we want to see this, so we took them in, and I'd say we're 3 to 4 weeks out.
Oh, outstanding.
And we started a waiting list, and we're excited. So. Of course, in the spring, probably in the summer, sometime we'll have a ribbon cutting, and of course you'll be there.
All right.
You're on the mailing list, and we'll have the mayor and the county commission and lots of people who lived at Tyndall to celebrate this wonderful event.
Now, other than Tyndall, and I'm glad you called it Tyndall, at least we kept the name.
Sure.
Talk about the other public housing entities that are in the community.
Yes, thank you.
I know some of them are getting old, but a lot
Some
of
of
them
them are. Yeah.
are still there and are still serving a purpose.
They are, and of course the whole purpose of public housing, affordable housing as we like to call it, is to offer families and seniors a good place to live, and we still have Davis Homes, which is on the east side. Davis Homes is in wonderful shape, and right behind Davis Homes on Main Street we have the Family Investment Center.
Right.
And in the Family Investment Center we offer all kinds of terrific services, tutoring and tax preparation and so on, after school activities for children and social services. And so Davis Homes continues to be a very viable place
Now,
to live.
isn't that where Motivating Youth operates
Yes,
out
yes,
there?
absolutely, yeah. And they do a terrific job over
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Yep, and they've been there for, I'll bet you, probably close to 10 years,
Yes,
some odd.
yes.
And then as we move across to the west side, we've got Felton Homes, which is right behind
Right,
the Housing Authority, and we invested in that property 5 or 6 years ago.
Now,
And-
I noticed at Felton, I think, wasn't this kind of innovative because I saw the, what you call with the energy?
Oh yeah, the solar panels.
Solar panels.
Yeah, that was Alex. That was an interesting deal. So we remodernized Felton Homes about 8 years ago, and part of that deal back then, still today, the whole green movement, right? And so the investors, the tax credit investors that helped us with that property, said, "Look, you've got to put some solar panels on these roofs." And I thought, wow, okay. That would be great for the residents. It will save money. Okay, we're all about saving money. But I thought, the minute I have a baseball go through one of those things, it's going to cost a ton of money to fix. Well,
So they can break.
they can break, but knock on wood, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So we're real thrilled with that property. It's energy
Now,
efficient.
is it working?
Yeah, it works. Yeah, and it saves the residents money.
Now, is that where they get all of their power, or do you still have electricity?
We still have electricity, so it kind of offsets. So if we have lots of sunny days, that helps. And if you have lots of cloudy days, then you're pulling on more electricity from the power company.
Kind of like a battery operated car.
Yeah.
Still got to have gas.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's been a lot of fun. And then right behind Felton, we've got the Buck Melton Center,
Right.
which again, just like the FIC Center, offers a lot of services. We've got daycare. We've got a nice basketball court, so we can have after school activities, and that's been a fun deal as well. So, and then as we move, we've got a lot of scattered sites.
Let me
public
mention
housing.
something about the Davis Home Center and
Yeah.
the Felton Home Center,
Yeah.
Buck Melton Center.
Sure.
Now, is it possible for the public to have access to those or to do programs or what have you?
Yeah, basically, we don't rent the space out. I mean,
Okay.
we have office space that we rent to people who have office space there, but we generally don't have public events simply
Okay.
because of liability.
Okay, okay.
And we don't have after hours things unless there's a group there that's that has
Connected
office space.
with-
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Okay,
Right.
okay. And so the other projects are
Okay, and then we've got Anthony Homes, which is on off Anthony Road. Anthony's been there a long time over there by the mall.
right.
And
now that's called famously known as
Bird City,
Bird
right,
City,
right.
yeah.
And it's not public housing any longer. It's actually a contract with HUD. It's like a Section 8 contract with HUD.
Oh,
We converted it because, like I mentioned earlier, public housing, they're not sending the money, and so with Anthony, we converted it to Section 8 project based. Again, same requirements to live there, but when we did that, we got a couple $1 million to go in there and refurbish all the interior part of the units. And that's a nice property simply because there's a lot of different room sizes. You've got
Right.
2s, 3s, and 4s.
Right.
And when we've had, it's interesting, Alex, when we've had meetings over there, that neighborhood, a lot of people are still there who've lived there a long time.
I know.
And it's a very tight-knit neighborhood.
Right.
And we really like that neighborhood. And we've got Mounts Homes, public housing, and it's doing very well.
That's in Pleasant Hill.
That's in
right?
Pleasant Hill,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
And right there off of, I guess it's, I'm trying to think, there's a road that comes down where they're doing a lot of construction. Well, 16 Walnut.
Yeah.
And Mounts does well. We have waiting lists at all of our sites.
That's what I was going to
Yeah,
ask you.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the housing is full,
It is full, Alex, so that's interesting.
but that shows that you're serving a good purpose.
We are, and I read something yesterday, and I thought, I'll bet Alex is going to ask me this, and you did. And that is, I thought to myself, how many people are there in the United States who need affordable housing? And the article I read yesterday was over 7 million. So there's a shortage of affordable housing, not only in Macon Bid, but also throughout the United States. And so the Housing Authority is continually looking for ways to approach affordable housing that provides excellent housing at an affordable price that adds to a community.
Right.
And so HUD's just not coming to the table. And so we try to think of different ways to do that. You got to be creative. And the other thing we do, Alex, is we collaborate with a lot of organizations here in Macon. The mayor and all of the commission have been so supportive of us. The leadership over there, all the commissioners have been so supportive. And we recently talked a lot about the Dempsey Apartments downtown. That's an exciting venture.
Let's talk about that
Sure.
because the Dempsey has been in the news, and of
Yep.
course there has been some concern about
Sure.
whether they're gonna throw people out on the
Sure.
street, and
Sure.
people not gonna have anywhere to stay, and they're gonna
Right.
make people homeless.
Right.
Talk about that project.
Yes, sir. And thanks for asking about that. That is, as everybody knows in Macon, Dempsey Hotel has been in Macon for over 100 years. It's a historic cornerstone of downtown Macon. It's a
Right.
beautiful building. I don't know if you've ever been in there, but it's wonderful. The architecture and the space has just been well done. And it's been managed and owned by a group out of Boston for sort of 35 years, the Barkin Management Company. They did a great job. But in the 80s, they signed a contract with HUD. And the contract basically says, if you keep this property up, then we'll send subsidy money to the ownership so you can house people who need, seniors in this case, who need affordable housing. Well, that went on for many, many years. And finally, several months ago, the Urban Development Authority here in Macon approached the ownership up there in Boston and with an offer to buy it. And you know how real estate can go. It's a long process sometimes. So finally, we're in the process of purchasing that. The UDA is. And in the midst of that, they asked us if we'd manage it. And so we, of course, said yes. We're thrilled. We manage a lot of Section 8 property, a lot of.
Now the housing authority is going to manage.
Yeah. So we won't
the
own
new
it.
Dempsey?
Yeah, the new Dempsey.
Yeah,
So we won't own it. We'll manage it. And so the beautiful thing about this, Alex, is now we've got local ownership and local control of something in Macon that everybody cares about.
Right.
And it's a great facility and it houses a whole bunch of tremendous people. And like you said, the concern is, oh gosh, if somebody buys the Dempsey, am I going to have to move? As a result of the purchase and us managing it, nobody's going to have to move. The contract to rent to seniors who need affordable housing stays in place until 2025. And then there's also a use agreement, basically, that says whoever owns it has to make it available to seniors who need affordable housing until 2035. So that's in place. And so now our job is to, once there's a 90 to 120 day period that has to lapse so that we can do our due diligence, and then we'll go in and start managing it, and hopefully we'll bring in resources into the Dempsey to help people, and that's what we're all about at the Housing Authority. And the Urban Development Authority, just terrific leadership over there, and with the support of the Macon Housing Authority Board as well. The board is so supportive, and many of the board members have been at the Housing Authority, on the Housing Authority Board for years and years, as you well know.
I know.
Just very supportive. So we're excited about that new opportunity for Macon and for the UDA and for.
Now, are they going to refurbish the building?
They will do some light refurbishment. The UDA is in the process of closing that deal out, and once that's done, then they'll make long-term plans to make some upgrades there. And we'll be going through with the UDA several times in the next 90 days, going through a lot of the units, going through the boiler rooms and all the mechanical rooms, and doing it. I know that they're going to hire an inspector to go down there doing an assessment so they can make a long-term plan.
It's going to take some money.
It's going to take some money and some time. And over the years, the Barkin Management Company has put a lot of money into that property. Anytime you have an old structure, like we talked about earlier, they can be very expensive to maintain. Luckily, the Dempsey is well built, and Barkin Management Company has done a satisfactory job in keeping it up. So it's not like we're going into the Dempsey and it's just falling apart, But there'll be some upgrades.
Yeah. And then I'd say there will be room for some retail outlets.
Yeah,
right there on Cherry.
Exactly. Forever, and I can't remember the name of it, but I know you ate there. I saw you there one time. The Mexican restaurant down there. Right. That was a great place to eat. Right. And so I know that the UDA will have somebody with commercial experience come in there and manage that piece. And so the Housing Authority will manage the residential piece, and somebody else will manage the commercial piece and try to bring some neat things into the basement there.
Talking about housing is pretty interesting, and talking about downtown, I'm glad to see activity as it relates to the Dempsey, because it kind of ties in with what's going on downtown. I understand that you got lofts.
There's a lot of activity.
Galore.
Yeah, as lofts move in, it becomes expensive. And so this is so important to keep downtown affordable for people, and so this is the fabric of our community. So this is really interesting. There is a lot of activity down there, and night and day, and it's good activity, and it's vibrant, and it's I go down there with my wife on the weekends quite often. It's just nice to do.
Right. It is nice,
yeah,
and I'm glad to see it.
Yeah,
and I'm old enough to remember the transformation, because at one point, you had Sears and J.C. Penney's and Belk's and all of these department stores before they moved out to the Macon Mall. So, and then the other thing that's interesting as it relates to downtown, since we're on the Dempsey and downtown is safe.
It is.
A lot of people think that it's not safe and they don't want to come, but I remember the time during the week that you could ride downtown on a Wednesday night and didn't see anybody anywhere.
Right.
But now you see people going to restaurants.
Yeah.
I understand it's over 50 restaurants downtown.
Absolutely, and you can't find a place to park.
That's it.
And so once you park, you walk, and absolutely, my wife and I go down there all the time, and we feel perfectly safe.
Good.
We've never witnessed anything that scared us, and it's just good. It's just good for everybody, and so we're excited about to be part of that.
So you've been at the authority. What kind of jobs have you held at the authority?
That's a good question.
How long have you been there?
I've been there 22 years.
Since you were 12?
Yeah, I feel like it. I tell you what, John Hiscox hired me. John, of course, we all stand on the shoulders of giants.
I know John.
John's a great
Matter of fact,
guy.
have you talked to him lately?
I talk to him about once or twice a year.
Okay.
He'll come to town and we'll visit, and just doing great. Terrific guy.
Okay.
And he hired me all those years ago. And back then, actually, we had a grant, Alex, on 2nd Street. And so we would go in with grant money and fix up houses. And then we'd sell them to first-time home buyers. And that was really exciting. We did, 10 houses, and we sold them to first-time home buyers. And so I did that for about a year, and then I moved into the Section 8 department. And that's when I came on your show. And back then, Alex, we had, I don't know, maybe 1,800 Section 8 units in Macon City back then, I guess, or Bibb County. But now we've doubled that. So we're up to about 3,500 units in Bibb. And
now all the vouchers are taken, though, aren't they?
Yeah, so there's a waiting list for vouchers. It's so popular, and it's a great program. It really is. Yeah. And again, back to the need for housing. Anyway, so I worked in Section 8 for a while, and then I got into asset management, and that's where we started managing tax credit properties and trying to increase our management portfolio. And then, of course, this job came open, and I applied for it, so here I am.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you. I love the Housing Authority.
Glad to see you. Now, talk a little bit about, I think it was a very, very successful project, the Oglethorpe Homes project.
Yes, the Hope 6. Yes, Hope 6. Yes, Hope 6. Yeah, that was wonderful. So Oglethorpe Homes, we were able to tear that down and rebuild Tatnall Place. And so Tatnall Place is just a wonderful place. It's a
do you manage that?
We do not manage that. That's managed by a third party.
Okay.
But believe it or not, Tatnall Place has 30 public housing units in there. And a lot of people don't know that.
Right.
And the idea being, look, we've got Section 8 units in there, we've got public housing, and we've got market rate. And so we've got 97 units over there. There's a
how's the occupancy?
It's great. It's always at 98, 99% occupied. It's just there's a waiting list to get in. It's just a nice property. And as we tore down Oglethorpe and we built Tatnall, we kind of we watched the whole neighborhood transform. And it's a nice area,
and it's
affordable.
Type
it's
thing.
Mixed use, right? Yeah. And it's affordable. Yeah. And so that's been fun. And we've I guess that's been in operation about 10 years now. And so we're really excited about that.
I was really excited about when the Hope 6 grant was
yeah.
So where do you see the Housing Authority going? What kind of initiatives and projects?
Right.
Is there any way the community can assist or anything the community needs to know about as it relates to the Macon Housing Authority?
Sure. That's a great question. Yes, our mission, of course, is to provide housing and to provide services and community development to everybody we serve. And so our vision is to keep doing that. And as the need for affordable housing continues to grow, we want to make sure that we're in a position to be able to provide that. It's frustrating, I know, for people to sit on a waiting list forever.
Wow.
Whether it's public housing or Section 8 or another affordable property, it's frustrating to sit on a waiting list, and it's simply just not enough production.
Well, now, is anything being done is there anything on the horizon that would indicate that it's going to get better, that there's going to be more units opening up?
I hope so.
With the cuts and all of that, I know.
Yeah, you're right. The cuts and the congressional caps make it very difficult. As the economy grows, we're hoping that provides more opportunity for housing authorities across the country to work with their local communities to do more things. The beautiful thing about Macon is that we have a lot of strong partnerships, and we've been fostering those partnerships for years. And to look in the future to the vision, we want to foster more partnerships because we just can't be in a position where we rely on the government.
Right.
We want to be able to rely on ourselves here in Macon and form these partnerships and go in with various organizations to build new units, to maybe rehab old units, and maintain the units we have. And so that's best done through collaborative partnerships at the local level. And I tell you, Macon, Bibb County, and the organizations we deal with have been so supportive.
Yeah,
and it's just wonderful. So we want to keep doing that.
One thing I wanted to mention, and I don't think we should end the program without talking about the Residents Association.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I remember, I can't remember the lady's name, but she was in charge of the Residents Association.
Yeah.
And I think she even came, I don't know whether she was on the board or she came to the board meetings.
Board of Miss Fowler is still on the, she lives in Davis Homes, and she is a wonderful commissioner.
She's still on the board?
Absolutely she is, yeah. Joanne Fowler, she is wonderful. And we still have so that's the commission. She's on the commission, and she's very supportive and comes up with wonderful ideas. And she's still there. She's been very active. And then we have a resident body who I meet with every 3 months, and they give me opportunity.
Now, these representatives
They're
from all of the,
from
units
from the
that's
units.
under the auspices?
Yep. And there's 6 or 7 of the ladies who are on that particular board, and they come see me. In fact, we met 2 weeks ago, had lunch at the Housing Authority, and they help me understand what we can do better. And I always start out the conversation, look, the Housing Authority, we're not perfect. We make mistakes, of course, like everybody does. But what we want to make sure is if we make mistakes, we want to do right by people.
Right.
And we have found over the years, Alex, that if we do right by our residents, then we're doing a great job.
You know, and I need to quickly say this. See, that's the mistake that a lot of organizations and other entities make is, you know, too often we don't get input from the bottom up.
That's right. They're our customers.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
absolutely. You're right.
You gotta review and examine, you know, how the people that you're serving feel,
right.
And I know that the authority does a good job of that. Well, congratulations again.
Well, thank you, Alex, and thanks for having me. This is
you're doing phenomenal. Anything else you want to say?
No, I just thanks for the program. You do a phenomenal job.
Any way the community can help?
Just call us. You come up with good ideas, please call. We're open for business. We want to hear about the good. We want to hear about the challenging, and we want to hear about the opportunities. And so we're open for business. And we're
if someone wants to, you know, learn more about the authority,
they call me and I'll sit down with them. Absolutely. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to know, and lots of interesting, exciting things.
Yeah. Well, they can call you or one of your subordinates.
Anytime.
752-5000.
Absolutely.
Is that it? 478?
It's 478-752-5000. I'll be glad to talk to you.
Isn't it remarkable that
you still know that? I love it.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed Mr. Mike Austin, who's recently selected Executive Director of the Macon Housing Authority, which is playing a phenomenal and necessary role in our community to provide shelter.
Absolutely.
For a specific group of people who sorely need it. And we want to thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And if you want Mike to come out and talk to your organization,
Absolutely.
You know, you can give him a call at 478-752-5000. And if you've got any suggestions for a call to action, you can give Alex Habersham a call at 478-464-0074. I want to give a shout out to Miss Gwen Dreer, who's one of my listeners, and she offered information and
hello, Gwen.
And feedback on the program, and I certainly appreciate Miss Gwen Dreer. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. Have a great day.